good evening, and welcome to Virginia's Views and Vibes. I'm your host, Ginny Gardner. And as you know, I've been doing this show now for 12 years. And the purpose of my show is to meet the person behind the story. And I must say, this is one of the most important stories that needs to be told. My guest this evening is Sue Ianni. She is a J6er. We all know what that means, and now you'll hear the truth in her story. And I proudly welcome Sue Ianni. Thank you so much, Susan, for coming. This is an important story. What happened to you, and you've told it to me before, should never have happened and should never happen to any American. I think we'll start with a little bit about you. You're a mom, working. You're a daughter. You have a dad that you take care of. You're passionate about politics and your country. And all you did was do what everyone does in that position, which is go to rallies, hold signs, support your candidate. And that's all you're guilty of. So what happened?
Okay. What happened was we knew the election had been stolen. We felt very strongly about that. And we wanted an investigation. We wanted the Supreme Court to hear the case, and we knew that that had not worked out. When people say that, oh, well, the courts already ruled that it wasn't stolen. No, what happened was the courts refused to hear the evidence, including the Supreme Court, because Texas had come out, applied to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, no, you filed incorrectly. And then 17 states joined Texas. 17 state legislatures joined Texas and said, we all want this to be heard before the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, except for Justices Alito and Thomas, said, no, you didn't file correctly. We're not going to hear it. And you would think that with 17 states saying, we believe this election was stolen, we want an investigation, that would make those justices sit up in their chairs a bit and say, we're going to hear the evidence. But it did not, because I believe they were afraid.
Yeah,
so
I do too.
They were cowards.
So you on January 6th, you organized a group and got on 3 buses and drove to D.C.
Well, I had 3 buses that I personally planned, actually 4. And then there was another bus captain that I was working with. And so we had 4 buses leave Newton. So she was pretty much in charge of the 4th bus. And then I had 2 more buses out of that went from Plymouth to Fall River, and then they took off from there. And I had a bus captain working those down there. So there were 5 buses that I was in charge of for Super Happy Fun America was the organization. And then there were other buses that we connected with. People were calling me from New Hampshire, Vermont, and they were asking me to plan buses. I said, you got to do your own buses. I'm tapped out.
Yeah.
So between Western Mass and those 2 other states, we had 11 buses going down from New England. So that was 550 people. We're all swapping passengers. It was outstanding.
It was fun.
11 buses. It was a lot of fun.
Fun event.
And it was, excuse me, it was our 3rd time going down. The first stop, the Steel Rally, we went down in our own cars or flew. The second time, I took 2 buses down, and everybody had so much fun at the December 12th rally. That's how January 6th happened, where everybody's like, oh, I want to go on your buses. So, because it was fun.
It was fun. And you know, we had just come off an election where we were doing, we did the rolling parades all through from you know, Natick to the North Shore, the South Shore, New Hampshire, and it was a party atmosphere, even in the convention
there was
too.
A lot
Everything
of
very party, and it was fun. So you went there, you know, have fun, hold some signs, make your point, and then suddenly, and this is to me a nightmare. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. This is an American, United States, a nightmare scenario. It's a movie. It's a terror movie. What happened to you? So you're in the you told me you had gone to the Washington Monument, and you decided let's go grab something to eat. And
Well, we were freezing. It was so cold
Yeah,
that day.
yeah.
And the last two Stop the Steal rallies, they were, excuse me, the weather was much more fair.
Yeah.
So, and also all the restaurants in the area were open. They made a fortune in DC those days. But on January 6th, everything was shut down, which was very odd. Because we were so cold, we didn't even finish listening to Trump speak. We were
Yeah.
like, let's just go to a restaurant and warm up. And so we started to walk away, but nothing was open. And you couldn't go to the side streets because Antifa BLM were beating people up if you were a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
We knew that from the last two Stop the Steal rallies. So everybody stayed in their groups. You know, no, if you didn't see other Trump supporters walking somewhere,
Yeah, you
you
weren't
didn't stray.
Right.
So, and the Capitol Police, not the Capitol Police, the DC Metro were also guiding people like that way toward the Capitol.
And you assumed,
So-
naturally, you assumed that because Antifa was here, and you know, look, we're all intimidated by Antifa when there's a group of them and they're acting rather aggressive and violent. You don't go near them, so you stay away from them.
Well, they
So
were
the
kicking in
natural-
heads. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were very violent.
Yeah, so the natural thing would be to go where the police are directing you.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, and I want to point this out, because the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and the Three Percenters all got a bad name for being terrorists and attacking the Capitol. The only reason those guys were dressed in gear was to protect people from Antifa.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when our buses came up, the Proud Boy, we are friends with Proud Boys, and they said, let us know when your buses come in so we will escort you to the Washington Wall, to the Ellipse, you know, to make sure you're safe. That is why they wanted a show of force to keep Antifa. They put their bodies in between us and Antifa. That's what they were about. So,
And on that piece of it, we all watched Tucker Carlson. Did he touch that and also show that Proud Boys were there to help? in
Oh, yeah,
his-
he
Yep.
did.
Okay. I just
as a
wanna-
matter of fact, he showed them on video saying to some reporter, they were like, the reporter saying, well, what are you doing? He's like, well, we were going to walk to the Capitol, but I guess we're going back this way now. There's nothing's going on. We want to keep patrolling, and they were patrolling.
So that's documented, really.
yeah.
Totally documented.
Yeah, and they were eating at some hot dog truck or something.
Yeah. So you're walking down and still thinking, you trying to find a bathroom, obviously, and trying to find a restaurant.
Well, yeah, some people were.
Yeah.
There were porta johns at the Washington Monument, but there were such long lines. So by the time people were walking toward the Capitol, which was, I have a flyer that says we're supposed to go to the Capitol next because there's a stage set up, and we're going to hear the senators speak and the congressmen, and Roger Stone was going to speak and other people. So that's where that's where the rest of the event was supposed to take place. So this was a planned event, and we had 6 permits to be there from Chief Sund of the Capitol Police. So the Capitol Police knew we were coming, and they knew it was a permitted event.
Wow.
So I'm not sure why they had barricades around. But I guess, in the beginning, some people had broken through some barricades. We had no idea that any of that happened. It happened way before any of us got there.
Yeah. You're thinking
so-
you have permits, 6
Yeah.
permits, you have the okay. You weren't told otherwise by the police. You weren't turned away. They escorted or sort of guided you. So at that point,
Why are DC Metro telling us to go to the Capitol if it's off limits, and they have these silly little bike racks, and not just bike racks, but it's almost like a plastic flexible fence that you could just rip with your hand that's blocking the Capitol that somebody just took and they ripped it down with their hands. It's like, who are these people ripping this stuff away? And then people just went on the lawn, and they're saying, oh, we breached that. It's like, we didn't know.
yeah, right. So you're at the Capitol at this point, and with your friends, still no red flag goes up because you couldn't get out anyway. They were guiding you was safe.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where we were supposed to go anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was supposed to go.
Yeah.
We could have gone anywhere. I mean, but no restaurants were open. There was nowhere else to go.
Why was that?
Mayor Bowser shut down the city because she was working with Pelosi. They wanted us at the Capitol. And here's the thing. When Pelosi says that, well, I didn't want the National Guard there. Trump had given permission for Mayor Bowser and Nancy Pelosi to have the National Guard to form a perimeter or whatever they needed. And Pelosi said, I don't like the optics, or the Pentagon said, I don't like the optics. Well, they got the optics they wanted, didn't they? So.
My God. So you're there, and
There were 5 Capitol Police officers. That's all in the beginning. When people started to go to the Capitol, and those guys who pushed the barricades toward them, which none of us knew anything about that happening, there were only 5 Capitol cops. There's 1 million people in town. Why are there only 5 cops guarding the entire Capitol Hill, which is blocks long, and the building itself is about 2 blocks long. So the whole perimeter it's huge.
So you're heading now to where you had the permits for. At this point,
Yes,
okay.
yes. And we see bike racks are like strewn about, and it's like people are just walking around and going on the lawn, like they were moved for us.
Yeah.
So we're going on the lawn and we're just hanging out.
Wait. You had 6 permits to be there. So why would you not assume? Why would you not?
Different groups had gotten permits.
So everything was safe and fair, and you had planned this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was all planned. We had a flyer. I mean, I have a flyer.
And permits.
Yeah.
And permits. So at that point, you're sort of guided to where you originally thought you were going to be. You said you were guided to the Senate side, or the?
Well, no, we were at something called, I think it's called the Peace Statue or something. It's this big statue in the beginning. We're just standing around there, and everybody's talking, and we were kind of regrouping because we were going to figure out what to do. And then people were talking about Mike Pence and whether he was going to be on our side or be a traitor. And then somebody had a satellite phone. And this was very suspicious to me because all the cell phone towers were down. And we knew that the cell phones wouldn't work from the last 2 Stop the Steal rallies, which, by the way, I want to point out, they let us on the Capitol lawn at the last 2 Stop the Steal rallies. But you don't see pictures of Trump supporters on the Capitol lawn at the last 2 Stop the Steal rallies. That's not shown anywhere. So this is like, they show it as some novel thing that we just swarmed this lawn and this has never been done before. We felt comfortable being on that lawn because we were there twice before in the past couple months.
So did you ever hear, when Trump spoke, what was your impression of what he was telling you to do? Just
well, peaceful. I could barely hear him, but I heard him after the fact.
Okay.
And I mean, we had already left by the time he was saying the things, but he had said...
you had already left?
Oh, yeah, we had already left. We were freezing. We wanted to get something to eat.
Oh,
we weren't even going to the Capitol.
Oh, my gosh.
And still, we were accused of, we were like Trump zombie soldiers and, we're going to attack the Capitol and kill members of Congress. And these are the kinds of things I was accused of.
Oh, my God.
Especially by my town, because I was a politician in my town, town meeting member. They wanted to throw me off. They said I was trying to kill Mike Pence and members of Congress. And I'm like, I didn't even want to go to the Capitol. I wanted to just go to a pub and get a burger and a beer and sit with my friends. And oh my God, it was insane. So
then, so you're sort of guided in, and well, you are guided in. You felt guided in, and then at what point you turn around and decide, let's just go back to the buses, and or did you get a message?
What happened was, like I was saying, somebody had a satellite phone.
Yep.
Okay, because everything was down, and this is where it gets suspicious when I think back.
Yeah.
Someone said, Mike Pence isn't going to vote, just announced he's not going to vote. And meaning he's not going to make a decision. He's going to sit it out. And I said, oh my God, now they're all going to cave.
Yeah.
And we said, it's over. They're all going to cave.
Yeah.
And then people start yelling, traitor, Mike Pence is a traitor. And some people start yelling, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. But, you know, tongue in cheek.
Right.
You know, that's
Right,
just like,
yeah.
and they're like, kind of like smiling, laughing,
Yeah.
hang Mike Pence.
Yeah,
It's like nobody takes that stuff seriously.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after a while it calmed down again. It's like people kind of expected Mike Pence to cave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then people started to walk more like toward the steps more, I guess. But just toward the building, because we were still going there to protest and listen to the speeches.
Yeah.
Because Trump, we were supposed to let our voices be heard, and we were way out by the street. So we wanted to get in closer and see what was going on. So we're doing that, and it's getting really packed, and you can't really see anything in front of you. And next thing we know is, whew, boom, boom, boom. All these, and I'm like, oh my God, what's? Some people thought they were fireworks going off. They thought it was some kind of celebration. I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening?
happening?
And I had Mark Zahady next to me, and he was in the Army, and he knew riot control, I guess. And he said, they're just flashbangs, it's not going to hurt you. And then it was so loud and startling, I just kept screaming until it was like
my
the seventh
God.
one went off. Then I started getting used to it. And then we were getting tear gassed or CS gassed or something. It was burning our eyes, and some people were coughing. And it was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because we were just standing around like, hey, where are you from? And, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, some people were singing Amazing Grace, and, you know, other people, Star Spangled Banner. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then, you know, people are getting angry and, you know, why are they doing this? Hey, we back the blue. What are you doing? And
Yeah.
so, and what's really horrible about this is there were babies in that crowd.
Oh my God.
There's babies in. So imagine if you're
Oh my God.
a father and you're looking at your 2-year-old screaming from CS gas or tear gas in his eyes, and you're trying to keep that little fist from rubbing the eyes, and they're screaming, and you're not going to be mad at those cops and start screaming at those cops, and they're saying, oh, well, we had no right to be mad at those cops, and or you know, they're saying, oh, you assaulted the cops. You know what an assault of a cop is? If you're yelling at a cop and screaming at, and a cop does this with his shield, you just assaulted that cop because your body touched his shield when he went like this to you. That's an assault of a cop for January 6th.
So I'm seeing 10 minutes. I want to get to a couple of other things. So you got, after this, you never were able to eat, I guess, because there was no place. So you got on the buses and
No,
and
not till the rest area.
Yeah.
Well, we kept going.
Yeah.
What happened was we kept moving up. I heard somebody yell, "We're going in," and we're like, "What? You know what?"
Yeah.
It was probably a Fed yelling that,
Right.
because that's what we were hearing. It's like there were Feds
were
mixed
set
in,
up. Yeah.
because the people who were yelling that stuff were never arrested. They were the ones who were never arrested. People like that, the ones with the bullhorns, directing people, the ones holding the doors open at the Capitol, doing this. They were the ones who were never arrested.
Yeah.
So
I want to kind of fast forward to the bus only because I don't want to run out of time with this, and I know the rest of this, and it's
yeah.
unimaginable. So
Yeah.
you get in the bus and you're probably shaken up, but you get home, and then you start to hear rumors that you're going to be arrested. Or
Well, what
how did
happened when we got on the bus, we didn't think we were like, wow, that was really crazy, but we didn't think we did anything wrong.
Right.
Because the cops, when we went in, we never crossed a police line. The police were letting people in,
Yeah.
and like I said, it wasn't me, but they
Right.
were directing some people, you know, oh, the bathroom's that way and that kind of thing. And they were just leading us on a guided tour, and then they led us to an exit, and they said, if you leave now, nothing will happen to you. So we said, oh, okay. And we're like, we have to get back to our buses.
Right.
So we walked out, and we said, thank you, and we left. So why would we think we'd get in trouble for that? So, and then we're in a rest area in Maryland, and we're watching the TV, and we see the boom, smoke and fire and all this stuff happening, and it was darker. And Nancy Pelosi saying, every last one of these insurrectionists is going to be charged with terrorism. And we're like, what? What's she talking about? We didn't know. Like, what? You know, we were so confused. I said, I think we're getting in trouble for this. What are they saying?
Yeah.
How they're spinning this.
Yeah. So you
We were set up.
So So you get home and you find out that they may arrest you, and you're prepared for that. And
Well, the next day I see my picture in the paper with like this. I'm like with my fist in the air, and it's like I don't even remember that, but it was probably like when we got inside, somebody probably chanted USA,
Right,
USA
right,
or something,
right.
and I went USA, you know, ex-cheerleader, a guy to do this. But the thing is, we had already heard that Mike Pence and Congress had been evacuated, so we figured we're in an empty building.
yeah.
So it's like USA, okay,
Right.
so what? You know, and then we're, okay, and now we're gonna walk down a hallway, and we were just talking to the police and being peaceful, and
And
that
gave
was
you
it.
no indication that you were doing anything wrong or that they were
No.
angry.
no, as a matter of fact, the Kavanaugh protesters were much more violent, and they were right in the senators' faces, jumping in their face, jumping in elevators with them. They broke through police barricades to get in the building that day. You can see it online, it's on Google, that they broke through police barricades to get in that building. And they say what we did was unprecedented. And it was not. They had 200 arrests that day, 600 arrests during the Women's March, no federal charges at all.
And
A few fines, that's it.
in the summer of love, there was substantial amounts of money, $2 billion. I have written
They
down somewhere.
actually, through a Molotov, they actually sealed off the exits to an ICE facility with officers inside and threw Molotov cocktails into the building.
So you're
And they
you're-
got deferred prosecutions, meaning their charges were dropped after 6 months. And when my lawyer said she should get a deferred prosecution, the judge said, no way, no
it was
deferred
already-
prosecutions. This is
was-
prosecutorial bias.
Yeah.
We were treated differently.
So you know you may be arrested, and then you were. They came at 6
Yeah.
o'clock, and then you were put into Boston. And then how was
In
Boston?
leg irons
In leg irons.
for misdemeanors. I was like, you got to be
then-
kidding me.
And you spent one night in Boston?
One day, I spent
day.
like half a day.
Okay.
It
They
was-
then take you to fly you to Washington, or drive
What's
you?
that?
How'd you get to Washington? Did you go to Washington?
that was later. That was couple of years later for my sentencing.
So when you spent time in jail, because you ended up in jail, no Miranda rights. I'm saying 5 minutes. No Miranda read to you. You didn't know what you were being charged with. You went into solitary where you basically found a styrofoam something, but 6 feet, like maybe not even.
they
as big as
handed
this
me
rug.
they handed me a mattress. They said, here's your mattress. And I'm like, what? It was a piece of 3/4 inch foam that was ripped out of something. It was a piece of something. It was maybe 3-4 feet long, ripped on an angle. And they said, this is your mattress. And it wasn't a mattress, obviously. And no pillow. I had to use half a roll of toilet paper for a neck roll.
You were
and
sick for
a
3
cotton
days,
blanket.
vomiting.
No, I was sick for a day and a half. They had me in there for two and a half days, I think,
in solitary,
in solitary. And I started getting sick, vomiting after a day.
and they let you. They just
And they
left
just
you to
ignored
vomit.
me. They didn't take my vitals. They didn't send a nurse in. They didn't do anything. And they just took me out of there and put me in general pop, figuring they'll let the prisoners take care
And it
of
was
me.
cold, and they.
Oh,
they
I was
gave you
freezing.
Short sleeve shirts.
Short
and-
sleeve jumpsuit and cotton blanket And I said, please give me another blanket. No. Oh, we don't have any more. It's like, of course they had more. They just don't.
So all this time, you didn't even know what you were being charged with. You're
No, I did. I was sentenced. No, I was charged immediately. I was charged with 3 misdemeanors in the beginning. I was charged with 2 counts of disorderly conduct and trespassing in a restricted area.
And you spent 2 weeks in jail.
Well, after 2 years, they offered me a plea deal.
Okay.
They said, plead down to the lowest level disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, and we'll throw out the other 2 charges, which are more serious.
Yeah.
And I agreed to plead to that charge because I knew, here's one of the corrupt things they do,
Yeah.
I knew that if I didn't take the plea deal, that they were upcharging people with felonies.
Yeah.
So if you exercise your right to go to a trial and say, look, and I said to the prosecutor, I said, I didn't commit any of these crimes. If I plead to this, I'm committing perjury.
Yeah.
Because I didn't commit this crime. And he said, it doesn't matter if you're not guilty. What matters is I can convince the jury you're guilty of all these crimes. So it's like, oh, great. So, but this actually happened to Mark Zahedi, who he had the same, we were side by side the whole time, and he got charged with the same crimes I did. He refused to plead guilty. They upcharged him with a 4th misdemeanor. When he said, I'm still not pleading guilty, they said, okay. They charged him with a 20-year felony.
Oh my God.
For refusing to plead guilty, for exercising his right to a trial. Wow. That's what they do. That's how corrupt they are. And they were going to charge me with conspiracy because I took the buses down.
Yeah.
And I would have been in prison for at least 2 years. I may still be in prison.
Oh my God. And the jail experience was something that wouldn't happen under the Geneva Convention. You slept on a small little pillow, basically.
No. And they didn't put me in a low security prison either. I mean, when I walked into that prison and the guard looks at the paperwork, he's like, 2 weeks? He's like, for misdemeanors? He's like, why did they send you here? Why didn't they slap a bracelet on your ankle?
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, you better not tell anybody in there. You're only in here for 2 weeks. They'll beat you up. So I'm like, oh, well, that's part of the punishment, isn't it? They want me to get beat up. But what they did, the Bureau of Prisons, because it's January 6th, they put a terrorism enhancement on all of us prisoners. So none of us were sent to low security. We're all sent to medium or high security prisons. I'm a soccer mom.
Yeah.
I'm a volunteer in the school. I'm a local politician. Yeah. You know, I paid my taxes on time, always. You know, I never did anything wrong. I'm a daughter of a state trooper, Susie Cream Cheese, you know.
Yeah.
And they said, this is what they do. They want to torch you. They destroyed my reputation. They destroyed my standing in my community. They broke up my family.
Yeah. You have to come back, and because you know what? Thank you so much for coming, but you have way more to tell, and always my prayers. And honestly, I'm so proud that you did this for us. Thank you.
Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
I've been meaning to ask you, is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No.
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.